was 5.1 people killed per 100,000 or something like that. I think that's the right number. Anyway, and now in 2015 it was 5.7. So it peaked in the 80s and 90s. So we're always under perception that murder is increasing, and it's actually been decreasing for about 15, 20 years. So just want to throw that out there.
Right, but we're not
But
talking.
the prices
it's different.
have stayed the same.
Well, but it's also different murder and kids shooting up a school.
Yeah, mass shootings are definitely on the increase.
Right, you can't make a comparison.
And so I'm just saying it's separate from the idea that we're becoming more violent. We're getting a special brand of violence, which is people with AR-15s who are shooting up a bunch of people.
Right.
And also, while it's not considered super effective, the assault weapons ban was allowed to expire in 2004, and since then, and it didn't ban the AR-15 from being sold, but it prevented you from having certain combinations and stuff. Anyway, so maybe it wasn't perfect, but for some reason, since then, we've had these, our greatest hits, basically, which is.
I've always asked, and I was talking with guys. Well, you talk to guys who own guns, and they say, "Man, I don't do all that stuff." I said, "But answer a question for me. What do you need? What does a guy in the suburbs need an AR-15 for?" And he couldn't answer me. It's just to have one, just because of the fact that I'm able to get this thing, but there's no reason to have it. You're not in the military.
But that also, I mean, I don't know. Jim, were you talking? Did we interrupt you?
No,
okay.
Pretty much.
But I think then you have to look deeper. Why do people need them?
Right.
Why do people need them? To feel powerful.
Yeah.
Why do people need to feel powerful with a gun? Why, what is the setup in our society that basically puts these people in such places of powerlessness, or it's not even powerlessness, but the need to feel powerful via a gun.
With that, you go with capitalism and labor, because in capitalism it builds, and there is envy, there is jealousy.
I agree.
Capitalism is not about humanity.
Right.
It is not about building. So
right.
and also where do we have problems at? We have people who are able to that feel left out. And so with their money, instead of trying to say, I'm going to go, if they can't get into school or whatever, or they feel like this kid was actually suspended from school. And so what did he do? He went out and bought an AR-15. Got a gun.
As one will do.
Yeah, I mean, a
lot of
us have been pissed, and and they go out.
They'll go get cupcakes, maybe some ice cream, splurge for a day.
In Texas, you can buy an AR-15 right out of your trunk of your car. You can sell it. Okay, kids. I mean, if you need a gun, that is not hard to get in the United States.
Yeah.
Gang members have had them for a while. If I got 14-year-olds at my job who are telling me they're carrying .357 Magnums. Obviously, he didn't go down to the gun store and get them. Okay, he can get one when he can't get anything else. He can get an ice cream cone. Oh, and by the way, I have a Glock. All right, and they get it.
Now they get it, but they get it. I think they get it. They don't get it legally because they can't legally buy it. But it was somehow legally introduced into the market.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Whereas, so people keep saying, well, if you make it illegal, they'll just be black market, which is true. That's for everything. Right. But cocaine would be a lot easier to get if it was legal.
Good point.
If I could go to the cocaine store and buy some cocaine, maybe I'd try some cocaine. But right now, I got to figure out what neighborhood to go to, drive around. Hey, is that guy on the corner? I don't know where to get cocaine right now.
Although,
all I'm trying to say is, can someone sell me some cocaine?
I know a guy.
Later.
We'll talk after the show. Yeah. But I think it's an interesting point and not entirely invalid. But I think it's, and anyone who knows me or listens to this show knows that I'm an advocate for safe and sane drug policies. One of the big arguments against legalizing drugs from the right and the folks whose pucker is a little too tight, if you want to call it that, is if they were legal, people would be using them all the time. And surveys have shown that no, nobody is. It's not a factor. Well, why don't you do cocaine? Well, because it's illegal. Why don't you do heroin? Well, because it's illegal. Well, heroin may be a bad example because again, opioid epidemic, but I get where you're going with it, and it does make a lot of sense. But I think when you're talking about the gun issue, I think Jessica is a little more on the money that it comes down to the anger issues, and like we were saying earlier, The guy gets suspended from school. What does he do? Like, does he go and buy a box of 13 cupcakes and eat them all while he's shame eating and crying in his car? No, he buys an AR-15.
I think we should work on figuring out.
Okay, but is this considered? There again, because we have another crazy white cat or this dude. I don't know if he.
No, he was white.
Yeah,
white supremacist too. And there was, I saw a video on, I'm sorry, Tymon, but this is like just such an amazing thing because I know a lot of these whack jobs on the right are trying to say that all the mass shooters are liberal. There was video of this guy, I guess, taken by a neighbor outside of his house, you know, in the classic sane neighbor uniform of shorts, no shirt, and a bright red Make America Great Again baseball cap as he's waving a handgun around.
Right. And so I'm just saying
all the signs of a liberal.
Okay, but is this, I mean, you can't consider it terrorism, okay? Because these guys are, I mean, they try to say it's not terrorism. They always say, well, you know, we got these terrorists coming, we got this, you know, we got to fight terrorism. You can't fight this thing. This thing, you had a white dude sitting up in Vegas.
No, they can, but they won't, like Dave said.
Okay,
they can, but they won't.
But you keep trying to sell me on terrorism in other countries, but you're not dealing with what's right here.
But here's why: because this is money. I mean, these weapons are defense industry. I mean, that's a huge industry. The fact of the matter is, the NRA is a major money maker. It's a campaign contributor. It's a money maker. This is a large industry.
The Second Amendment and all that stuff.
Well, but here's the thing: a lot of people, the NRA included. Well, a lot of people want to believe. And the NRA wants people to believe that they are an organization set up to defend the Second Amendment,
right?
Which is bullshit. Yeah. They are there to promote the sales of guns. Mm-hmm. This is why their whole tack is that, the answer to gun violence is to put more guns on the streets in the hands of quote-unquote good people.
They profit off these shootings in many ways because people feel unsafe and therefore go out and buy more guns.
And that's where history comes in. And why was the NRA created?
To keep
gun education, I think, actually.
It was actually to help brothers fight against the KKK. Because black dudes were not allowed to defend themselves against the KKK, and so they allowed them to own guns. They created the NRA with the backing of to help them protect themselves from the Ku Klux Klan. And that's one of the reasons why. And then it was just a small little group of group that it didn't get this big, and then all of a sudden, as you say, the powers that be got hold of it, and next you know, they started putting lobbyists from the NRA in Washington, and it grew. And everybody got involved.
Well, it's also when we're not making money off of wars, because we are fighting wars at this moment, but we're not fighting them on the scale.
Thank goodness.
Well, yeah, but when we're not fighting them on the large scale, there's the defense industry it's not it's not making the money that it used to. Right. So this is why there are that's where this the gun industry needs to sort of step in. And the other thing is, I would say, we as a country have this rhetoric of guns being powerful. I mean, look, it's part of our culture as which is where the NRA kind of works that issue very much.
Yeah, it's not an immigrant problem, is it? These weren't immigrants. No. It's supposed to be rapists.
Well, see, that's the thing. When it's an immigrant or someone who's half a shade darker than Jim, who's just this side of albino, no offense, then it's terrorism.
Right.
When it's a white guy, it's mental illness.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
But the additional point being that we keep talking about Columbine. There have been 68 mass shootings in America since Columbine. And that was 1999.
Right.
So congratulations, America. But the Republicans, every time there is a mass shooting, they say it's not a gun issue. It's a mental health issue.
Well, didn't Reagan open up? Didn't Reagan open up
he closed down all the state
he let
hospitals.
the crazies out and let them be air traffic controllers.
Yeah, but that's not what this
But the thing is, and the point I'm getting at is that everyone talks about the Republicans not doing anything about gun control.
Right.
Well, they're also not doing anything about mental health care.
No.
And matter of fact, they are making things worse. One of the first things that Trump did when he came into office, and I think it's very telling that the White House will not release a photo of Trump signing this bill, but the photos do exist. The first thing that Trump did, one of the first things that he did, was to get rid of a law that Obama put in that made it harder for mentally ill people to get guns.
Oh, yeah.
I heard about this. If you want to say it's not a gun issue, it's a mental health issue, maybe we shouldn't let the mentally ill have such easy access to guns.
Well, that was after the Sandy Hook.
Maybe we shouldn't be making huge cuts to Obamacare because it's called Obamacare that directly affect people's access to mental health care.
No, this happened to a friend of mine. Literally 3 weeks ago, a friend of mine hung himself because he had mental health issues. Thank you. He was somewhere between a friend and an acquaintance and someone who I lived in my neighborhood. Yes, he had mental health issues. Could not get access to the meds he needed. Was having problems negotiating. Navigating. The healthcare stuff.
Right.
And had other issues, of course, but that was a big one. Had been committed.
I spent.
So yes, it's a very real problem. It's very hard. Go on. Sorry.
Right. Were you going to say something?
No, I'm done.
No, Lenny? You going to say something?
Oh, no, I was just saying, I do find it interesting that whenever a white person kills a lot of people with guns, people want to talk about, mental health care and, what happened to this person, how this person fell through the cracks, we need to change the whole system, because, when black people, when there's shootings in the hood, or if a black person shoots another black person, it was like, well, that's what black people do.
What they do.
So,
Right.
So I just find it interesting that now everyone wants to talk about mental health care. And
opioids are now a big thing. When crack was a big problem, they didn't really push for crack. They locked everybody up.
Yeah, crack wasn't a problem until it got to the suburbs.
Meanwhile,
good point.
Europe is just filled with white people who are not shooting other people.
True.
I keep having
we don't want no socialism.
We keep getting the same arguments.
There you go, Jim.
They talk about, a person who wants to kill people will find a way. And somebody linked to an article about a guy in Minnesota who stabbed 10 people. And so I click on it and I read the article. He stabbed 10 people at a mall. Sounds horrible.
Right.
He was shot by police or security, and all 10 people survived. Right. And to them, that's the same story. It's like, do you know the difference between recovering in a hospital for 4 weeks and burying your 14-year-old daughter? Or, it's like, how can they not see that? And then, of course, in Europe, one of the things that some terrorists have done is they run over people because they don't, it's harder to get weapons. And that's effective in certain circumstances. You got to have a bunch of people, that can't get out of your way. Somebody actually posted that, it's a good thing this guy used a gun, because if he'd used a car, he could have run over so many more. Jesus. And it's like, how sick are you to think that? And also a little more lighthearted, I think person? Just somebody on the internet, a friend of somebody. But we need to take their AR-15s away and give them a car and be like, well, it's just as deadly.
Right.
So you can certainly run over the police when they, or whatever. Because that's what it's a defensive thing, right? Well,
See, this is the problem. You liberals want the government to give cars to everybody now. And that's just so wrong.
Okay, well, an AR-15 is about $1,500. You get a $1,500 beat-to-hell car.
That's
but you know what? He had the ammunition that this kid had on him also. He could have kept going. He had so much ammunition on him, he could have just continued. And he decided, well, I've shot enough. I think I'll go. And so he tried to blend in, and that's how they caught him.
Yeah,
that's how they caught him. But other than that, he was, he could have kept going.
Yeah.
And he was sitting right in the middle of it. He pulled the fire alarm, walked away. He set it up pretty and started firing off.
How many people died?
17 so far.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And there's no telling. And those that got injured, they're going to be injured a while. Because an AR-15, that thing, you're talking about something that just cuts up.
How many rounds does that fire in, how much time?
It's what is it?
10 to 20.
No, 45 rounds a minute.
Oh, God.
And he had multiple clips, as you were saying.
Nonstop. And he said,
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, and this raised one of my modest proposals this week because I come up with them every now and then. Big shout out to Jonathan Swift, yo.